Week 1 of fantasy football is in the books. Hopefully you're 1-0. Hopefully you got that W, but if not, that's okay, because in this video, we are talking about how you can improve your team, how you can get better, and how you can win in week 2. We have 10 plus names that you should be targeting on the waiver wire in fantasy football for week 2. Before we get into it, let's talk about some obvious names that should not be available on the waiver wire. If you're in an 8-10 man league, get these guys on your team. Zach Charbonnet, Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, Justin Fields, or Keenan Allen. All of these guys need to be rostered, and if they're not, they need to be priorities. And then at the end of the video, we'll be talking about some honorable mentions and some deep league ads, stashes, so stick around for that. But let's start with one of the more obvious names at this point, Hollywood Brown, who had a huge game. 10 receptions, 99 yards, 16 targets, but we all know why. We all know why he saw that massive volume. It was because Xavier Worthy got drilled by Travis Kelce running that slant route, dislocated his shoulder on the first drive. I feel horrible for anyone who has Worthy. That was a really tough to watch, especially because there's no Rashee Rice, obviously. So everyone's expecting Worthy to have a huge first half of the season, and then this happens. And then Kansas City had to throw the ball a ton because they were trailing for the entire game against the Chargers. In Brazil, Hollywood saw 98% of the routes, a whopping 40% target share, 40% first read share. You have to think that probably would have been Worthy had he been healthy, but we haven't really heard the extent of the Worthy injury. We know it's a dislocated shoulder, but Kansas City has proven to us last year when Rashee Rice got hurt that they are going to take their time letting people know more information. It took forever to find out the real injury for Rice. I'm expecting something similar. Andy Reid was pretty vague, saying, oh, he's day to day. Like, who really knows? So as of right now, Worthy's at least going to miss a couple games, I would guess. And if that's the case, Brown is going to be usable for the next couple of weeks until obviously Rashee Rice comes back in week 7. And then Hollywood will still have a role, but it just won't be to the magnitude that it will be right now. If Worthy is out for the entire year, then Hollywood Brown is a usable piece for the rest of the season. So it's kind of tricky because we don't really know. So I would be conservative with your fab unless you're really desperate at receiver. Moving on to our next guy, Trey Benson, running back for the Cardinals, had a nice game. I mean, if you just look at the box score, it was pretty impressive. 8 carries, 69 yards, but he did have that 52-yard run, which kind of inflated everything. It still counts, though. It was fun to watch, but outside of that run, it wasn't super efficient, 2.4 yards per carry. But here's why he's on this list. It was like a timeshare in this backfield with James Conner. Usually it's like the James Conner workhorse role, and Benson just comes in for a couple of plays to spell him. But that wasn't the case at all on Sunday, as Conner saw 43 snaps to Benson's 22. Conner had 21 routes to Benson's 10. And total opportunities, Conner saw 16 to Benson's 9. So that's a little bit closer than most Conner owners would like it to be, and it kind of lowers James' overall ceiling, unfortunately, especially if this gets closer to a 50-50 split. Then Benson could be flex-worthy in fantasy. Remember, Trey is a third-round pick in 2024. This is his second year. He's only 23 years old. Really fun, talented player. Obviously, he's the younger back. James Conner has proven to us that he can't stay healthy for a full season. He's an older back. So Benson is still just only a guy you can leave on your bench for now, but if Conner were to go down, you're looking at a top 15 back locked and loaded in fantasy. And again, I think he does have some flex appeal if he continues to have a bigger role in this offense, but don't be too aggressive with the fab. I'm thinking $3 to $5. All right, moving on to our next guy, Mr. Quentin Johnston. This man, he's not going away, guys. 5 receptions, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. And yes, he has kind of tricked us in games like this last year. But if he can put it all together this year, he could be very usable for fantasy in what looks to be a really strong offense in LA, led by Justin Herbert. I mean, week 1 was very impressive. And Quentin saw nice usage. He ran 36 routes, which was only second to Ladd McConkey, 21% target share, 2.9 yards per route run, 24% first read share. And at this point, he's well ahead of Trey Harris, Lambert Smith in the pecking order. Unfortunately, though, for Ladd and Johnston, Keenan Allen looks good. I mean, really old receiver at this point, but we know Allen had a big game in week 1, 7 receptions, 68 yards, touchdown, 10 targets, rejoins his former team, already has that chemistry with Herbert. So not great if you spent a round 2 pick on Ladd, unfortunately, and not great for Johnston's overall outlook. Like if Johnston was the clear-cut number 2 guy in this offense, he would be like, you might be just pouring all your money on him, but that's just not the case. But remember, Johnston, really young player, really talented, former first-round pick. I have no problem putting $5 to $8 of your fab on him just because we don't exactly know how this passing game is going to shake out. If Johnston continues to see those red zone looks and score touchdowns, then yeah, you're going to want him on your fantasy team. So if you need a receiver, make Johnston a priority. All right, moving on to our secret stash of the week. We're going to be doing this every single week. It's one guy that's not on many waiver wire columns. Not a lot of people are talking about. It's a sneaky ad. It's getting ahead of your league mates before he breaks out type of ad. And that guy this week for me is Kendre Miller, who's been plagued with injuries his first 2 seasons in the NFL. But this is a super talented running back. He's a big frame, 6 feet tall, 220. He has a 3-down skill set. He's a strong receiving back. He can really do it all, and he looked very explosive on Sunday for the Saints. It appears that new head coach Kellen Moore wants to utilize his explosive young running back. He wants to get him more involved in this offense. It's never been a talent issue for Miller. It's just been, can he stay healthy? So obviously, he needs to stay healthy. Obviously, Alvin Kamara's there, but Alvin Kamara is an older back who looked fine on Sunday, but he's still not very efficient. If Miller earns a bigger role in this offense that needs playmakers, I think he could be usable for fantasy. And again, this is a handcuff situation. If Alvin were to get hurt, Kendre Miller could be a league winner down the stretch. So again, I understand it's end of week 1. You probably don't have like all these bench spots open, but if you do have a bench spot, you're looking to hold a high upside guy that could go crazy. If everything breaks right, then look no further than Kendre Miller. All right, moving on to our next guy, Harold Fannin Jr., rookie tight end for the Cleveland Browns, who had a really strong NFL debut. I think the Browns want him to be the guy on this offense over David Njoku. This man saw 55 snaps in his first NFL game. We like to see that usage, and it resulted in 7 receptions, 63 yards. He led the team with 9 targets. He out-targeted David Njoku, even though Njoku was on the field more. And like I said, he appears to be a big part of what Cleveland wants to do on offense moving forward. 20% target share, 73% of the snaps, 71% of the routes per dropback. Fannin was also used all over the field. This looks like a really fun player to me. He's a weapon for this Browns offense. They had him in the backfield. They lined him up in the slot, out wide. He was everywhere. And like I said, while David Njoku was on the field more, he didn't really produce. 3 receptions, 37 yards, 6 targets, which is kind of crazy because a couple years ago when Njoku and Flacco were on the field together, they were dominant. So it's a little interesting how this is going to shake out moving forward. This could be nothing. Njoku could end up being the guy. But what makes this a little more important or a little more like in the favor of Fannin is that Njoku is an unrestricted free agent after this season. Maybe they want to see what they have in the rookie. He's a smart ad stash player now. If you lost George Kittle, you can add him onto your team. I think he's going to be serviceable from here on out. I wouldn't go crazy with the fab though. $2 to $4 I think is fair. Moving on to our next guy, Calvin Austin, receiver for the Steelers. Had a nice game, partially because Aaron Rodgers went absolutely crazy against his former team. But Austin, 4 receptions, 70 yards, touchdown. He was the clear-cut number 2 target behind DK Metcalf. We weren't sure how it was going to shake out with Roman Wilson, but Wilson was an afterthought. Austin seems like the guy behind Metcalf as he ran a route on 96.9% of dropbacks, 80% of the snaps, 20% target share. This is an explosive player on an offense that needs weapons around Rodgers, needs guys who can make plays with the ball in his hands. And like I said, he benefited from Aaron Rodgers throwing 4 touchdown passes. Maybe it won't be as easy of a matchup as it was as it appeared in week 1, but Austin is a really talented player. I think Rodgers is going to elevate his game. Maybe this is Rodgers, Randall Cobb, right? Like, who knows? Calvin is a really fun player. He's young. We haven't seen a ton of him yet in the league. So, like, this is a guy who could break out. Don't spend a ton of fab on him, but I like the upside of him. Moving forward, obviously there's some negatives. It's Arthur Smith offense. Like, Rodgers isn't going to throw 4 touchdowns every week, so don't go crazy with the fab here. But Austin is a fun upside play, guy you can stash on your bench and see what happens. On to our next guy, Kayshon Boutte. Who would have thought that he was going to be the Patriots wide receiver 1 in week 1? 6 receptions, 103 yards on 8 targets. I mean, it makes sense. Stephon Diggs has looked great in all of training camp, but he's still coming off that torn ACL. He's still trying to get back in football shape. Practice is not a real game, right? So it doesn't really shock me that Boutte was the man in week 1. I did think, though, Diggs was going to have a strong opener. He was on the start list. Unfortunately, he didn't come through, but Boutte did lead the Patriots in routes run. He tied for the team lead in targets, and he's been a top 18 fantasy receiver in 3 out of his last 4 games with Drake May under center. So they already have that rapport. They already have that built-in chemistry. Kayshon looked really good out there. He led the league with 103 yards versus zone in week 1 and tied Jackson Smith-Njigba for the lead in downfield catches. It will be interesting to see how this wide receiver room shakes out with Demario Douglas, Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Boutte. Like, I wouldn't go crazy again with your fab here. I do think the Patriots under Josh McDaniels are going to throw the ball a ton this season, but I think he's a nice speculative add if you want to get him on your roster, if you really need a receiver. Again, he's kind of a wait-and-see player. Don't go too crazy at all on the waiver wire in week 1. You don't have amazing options out there. It is always smart, though, to be aggressive on the waiver wire earlier on in the year. Week 1 really isn't it. Maybe week 2 will have better options, but I still want to put these guys on the map for you. Make sure you know who is out there and who, if you need, you should be grabbing. All right, moving on to our next guy, Dylan Sampson, rookie running back for the Cleveland Browns. Had a nice day, 12 carries, 29 yards, 8 receptions, 64 yards. This is an exciting back, 4th-round pick. He's known for his pass down chops. He's a really strong receiving back. You love to see the 8 receptions for any player, let alone a running back. We know Quinshon Judkins was not active in this one. It's looking like he did sign a deal with Cleveland, so he's going to be active in week 2, week 3. That's not great for Sampson's overall outlook, but I'm expecting it to be a 1-2 punch between Judkins and Sampson. I think Jerome Ford is going to go to the bench. So what does that mean? Judkins is going to be the early down grinder. Sampson is still going to have that receiving role, which I think is a prominent role on an offense that is probably going to be throwing the football a lot this year with Joe Flacco, 40-year-old quarterback who's going to check it down. So Dylan is a fun, explosive player who, if he does have this receiving role, this 3rd down role locked up, maybe the 2-minute offense, then yeah, he's definitely worth an ad. He's a young talent that could earn a bigger role on this offense. We don't really know how Judkins is going to look, right? So yeah, rookie running back seeing 8 receptions in his first NFL game is something. It's not nothing. And if you need a running back, I would be spending anywhere from $7 to $10 of my fab. And on to our last guy, Juwan Johnson. Had a monster game for the Saints. 8 receptions, 76 yards, 11 targets. He had a massive role as well. He didn't leave the field. He was on the field for 74 of 75 snaps. He ran 47 out of 49 total possible routes. The Saints were trailing, obviously. They were forced to pass a ton, but still, that is insane usage. That's really promising to see under new head coach Kellen Moore. This is a guy who could be a tight end 1 in fantasy if this type of usage continues, even with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, who didn't have a terrible game. And Johnson Rattler have had a nice connection over their last 3 games that they played together, leading back to last season. Johnson is averaging 9+ targets per game. I'm very encouraged. It's nice to see in this Kellen Moore offense that Johnson is going to be a big part of it. And outside of dropping that touchdown at the end of the game, he looked really great for fantasy. I think this passing attack is going to be condensed around Olave and Johnson. Both guys obviously are going to be very usable for fantasy moving forward. And if you lost George Kittle, Johnson is the perfect player to add onto your team for cheap. I would drop $4 to $6 of your fab to get him. If you are a Kittle owner, maybe a little bit more just to guarantee that you get him on your team. On to some honorable mentions. Cedric Tillman for the Browns, who had a nice game. Mason Taylor, rookie tight end for the Jets, didn't do a ton, but this is a really nice talent. Justin Fields looked good. This entire offense looked good, so kind of banking on Taylor eventually having a big game. Jackson Dart, rookie quarterback for the Giants. He's going to be the starter, I would say, no later than week 4 at this point. DJ Giddens, the rookie running back for the Colts. If Jonathan Taylor doesn't play in week 2, which it sounds like he will, then Giddens would be the guy. But if you have JT, I'd be adding Giddens as insurance. Dante Thornton, the rookie receiver for the Raiders, is an intriguing ad. Daniel Jones, who looked good in his Colts debut. Jaden Blue, who was a healthy scratch, but I don't think Javonte is going to be the guy all year long. I think Blue is going to probably take over the starting job. I still do believe that. So yeah, get him on your team for nothing right now, because if Javonte can do what he did in this offense, imagine what a much more explosive Blue can do. And then Isaac Tesla, we've been talking about him as a guy you should be stashing. And then he had that really impressive touchdown, that one-handed snag against the Packers. And then Dan Campbell came out and said that he's going to have a bigger role moving forward. So get him on your roster for pretty cheap if you can as well. That's all I have for you guys today. If you took anything away from the video, if you can please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave any question down below. I'd be happy to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.